In the 70s, this morning's guest competed for the Miss South Carolina crown as Miss Greer. Fast forward 30-some years to 2 weeks ago, and now she's judging the Miss South Carolina pageant. Who is she? You'll meet her coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in the lobby of the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium in Spartanburg, South Carolina. We're focused on the Miss South Carolina pageant, which was held here a couple of weeks ago, and we're visiting with one of its judges and a Senior Director of Government and Public Affairs for BP America, Kathy Randall. Good morning, Kathy.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thanks so much for coming back up here.
Oh, listen, thanks so much for inviting me.
After having spent 10 days here in Spartanburg, of course, your home county, I believe, knowing this county well.
Well, I grew up here. It's no longer my home county.
Right, your hometown county, excuse me. That's our home community.
That's right.
You still have family in the upstate?
I still have a lot of family up here.
Is that right?
Yes, a great deal.
You get up to visit them often?
Well, as much as I can, and I'm trying to see a few of them. I did try to see a few of them while I was up here, yes.
Right. Of course, you actually live down at the coast, so it's probably that they're coming down
yeah,
to see you in Somerville.
Probably a great deal more.
Absolutely. Golly, how exciting. And the pageant here a couple of weeks ago, was it unbelievable?
I thought it was so much fun, and I learned so much. I just could not believe all the young women who were involved in it. It was great.
Right,
it was great.
Right. We kicked off the week with Joey and Gail Sanders here this week. Had Dr. Adrian Johnson, one of the other judges, with us yesterday. And tomorrow, one of your good friends, the Honorable Rita Allison, will be with us.
Oh, you've got a good group.
Oh, yeah, actually on Friday. I don't know if you knew it. You may want to come back for this. Miss America is going to be with us, Kirsten Haglund.
How did you manage that?
You know, she was with us a couple of weeks ago here at the auditorium, and of course for the pageant, and was willing to come on back. She loves Spartanburg so much. She was willing to come back. I think she said she's traveling about 20,000 miles a month. So a couple extra thousand miles didn't matter as she was traveling around.
Get some more good peaches, too.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mentioned that you're the Senior Director for Government and Public Affairs for BP America. Does that require you to travel the Southeast?
I do. I travel. I have the Southeast states, so I travel a good bit, particularly during the legislative season. You know, it's on my own time, too.
Right.
It's not every day, but it is a good bit of travel. It's not 20,000 miles a month.
Yeah, of course, sure. And with the Internet and new forms of communication, you're probably able to do a good bit from home, or do you have to
I have been working out of my home for the past number of years, but I'm moving my office to Columbia, or we're having our office moved to Columbia.
How exciting. Of
Yes.
course, a town you know very well.
Yes.
Both your undergraduate, your master's, and your law degree, all from that
all
the
from
city
the
of
same,
Columbia.
all from the city of Columbia.
Speaking of that, it was interesting reading about a little bit about your background there and seeing that your master's and your undergraduate degree were both in psychology or in counseling.
Counseling and psychology.
Right.
I was really interested in that early on. Probably still am. I like to know why people tick and trying to figure all that out. But that's probably one of the reasons. But you know, then after that, I decided to go to law school. So I don't know what that says about my psyche.
That's probably why, I hate to say, just hearing you say why people tick, I remember one of the good questions you had posed to some of the young ladies, obviously, was what makes you tick and what ticks you off, which was great.
That was
some of
them
handled them very well. All of them handled that question very well.
They certainly did.
I see now why you were asking it. That's exactly right. And, of course, law, did you go immediately into law school right out?
No, I did not. I ended up going, I worked at a number of places, a number of jobs. I had the great fortune to work for a gentleman named Phil Lader at Hilton Head when he was president of Sea Pines, and then when he ran for political office, he ran for governor, and I worked for him then. And while I was working on that political campaign, he encouraged me to think about going to law school.
Isn't that right?
So meanwhile, I get married and have a child, and at 40 years old, I decide I will go to law school.
Oh, come on. You started at age 40.
I started at age
Kathy.
40,
Wow.
yes. So there's always hope.
Yes. I may even have that.
Yes.
That's great.
But it was wonderful. I don't think I would have made it through law school if I'd gone earlier. I don't think I would have been prepared for it.
What was it about law school that makes you think that? Is it that it's that rigorous? Or,
it is incredibly rigorous,
right.
but I think at that point I was focused on too many other things. If you're going to law school, you really need to focus on being at law school for that period of time.
Right.
But I just think I was definitely in a place where I was ready to do something different, and law school excited me.
You must have had great support from your husband and daughter at that time.
Incredible support. I
Yeah.
have an incredible family who has always been very supportive. I have a great husband who said after the first day when I said, I don't think I can stay up here, this is too hard, and he said, just pretend you're going to war for 3 months. You know, it was during the Gulf War.
Right.
And he said, pretend you're going to the war,
right.
and you're not going for a year, you're going for 3 months. You can do it for 3 months. And he said, and you can come home and we can come up there. So
Good
we
for
managed.
him.
It was great. It was good. It brought all of us closer together.
I'm sure that helped him bond with his own baby girl.
Oh,
with
he
his
learned
daughter.
how to braid her hair.
I'm still working on that, Kathy. My God.
I know you have Emma Claire,
Yeah.
and she's the light of your life,
Oh,
and
she is.
my daughter is, you know, my heart walking outside my body. So,
You know, speaking of that, of course, your daughter, I believe, Aldi, is 21 and soon to...
just turned 22 a month ago.
Is that right?
And, yes, and getting ready to go into the MBA program at Clemson.
Is that right?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's tremendous. In thinking about that, did you see some similarities between your own daughter and some of the young ladies competing in the pageant a couple weeks ago?
Yes, so in so many ways, because the girls who competed in the pageant, I was just so impressed about what they wanted to do as they went forward, and they were really here for the scholarships. I mean, it's an incredible way to have someone else pay your fee when you're in school. But I was also surprised about how many the girls were older who were getting advanced degrees, and that's
Right.
why they were competing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yes,
We're
it
looking
really
forward
was.
to talking to Dr. Johnson about that tomorrow. Some of those thoughts as an educator, how fascinating it was to see some of the young ladies who had obviously gotten inspired at an early age to want to begin thinking about their future, about math or science or
I mean,
other.
you had to be surprised yourself at they were going to law school, they were getting their MBAs, the comparative literature and Middle Eastern,
Right.
whatever that was. I mean,
yeah.
I was just amazed.
I couldn't believe it. I know I wouldn't want to be competing against any
Me
of them for
either.
class rank to try to move up the totem pole in any school, North Carolina or South Carolina.
Yes.
These are very strong young ladies.
They were.
It was amazing. You know, as you think through so many steps for you, and I think I noticed that you'd actually been in a pageant or in a series of pageants, had been Miss Greer and competed for Miss South Carolina. Was competing back then, was it as much about scholarship back then as it is now?
It was about
Right.
scholarship for
Right.
sure, but it was very different and probably not as the caliber. I don't want to say the caliber of girls, but I don't think school or college or advanced degrees was
Right.
as important.
Sure.
Although I think it was still based on how do you pay your way to school.
Right, right, very much so. That's exciting. Growing up in the upstate, had there ever been a thought that you would either A, rush out of the upstate, or B, that you'd never leave the upstate? Did you have those
I love
feelings?
the upstate. I
Yeah.
loved it, but everywhere I have lived, I've loved it as well. I live in the lower part of the state now, the Low Country.
Right.
And I just can't imagine ever leaving it at this
Really?
point.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I love a lot that's up here, the mountains, all the trees. I said you can hear wind up here. But I also I adore the Low Country.
You've really covered the entire state, growing up in the upcountry, obviously attending school for almost a decade in the Midlands, the total of a decade
Worked
in the
in
Midlands.
Hilton
and
Head.
Working in Hilton Head. You just haven't visited the Strand as much.
I
although
worked in Myrtle Beach for a summer.
Is that right?
Yes, yes. I was a waitress for a day and they fired me.
Oh, for a
So
summer.
I ended up
That's
giving
right.
out towels at a pool.
Oh, come on, Kathy. Well, I loved hearing you talk about bringing your daughter and some of her girlfriends
Oh,
up to the different water parks in the Myrtle Beach area. Wild Water, Myrtle Waves. There's so many great water parks.
And the pavilion. Oh
And the
my
pavilion.
goodness,
Yeah.
they thought that was magical. You know, we
love
could
it.
hour and a half trip up to Myrtle Beach, and the kids were, I mean, they were just in heaven.
There's not a person throughout the Palmetto State, throughout the country, who's ever visited the pavilion who doesn't miss it, particularly locals
yeah.
who really didn't not take it for granted, folks who really took advantage of it. and loved it who don't miss it dearly.
And I haven't been back since it's demolished, I guess, now.
It has been wiped out.
Oh.
Yeah, 11 acres right there in the heart of Myrtle Beach that are wide open. Beautiful opportunity for future development. I'm sure the Burrs and Chapin Company, who owns that and much of the land in Horry County, are probably planning some great things down the road. Some great things down the road. What was that like working for Phil later? Kathy, how exciting!
Wow.
What a superstar! Wasn't he wasn't he an ambassador to the UK?
He turned out he was ambassador to the Court of St. James in London, but under Bill Clinton's administration.
Right.
Phil is a phenomenal man. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet him or interview him yet, but he is just a wonderful man who has the widest range of talents of anyone I've ever met.
Absolutely. I've got to tell you, I actually met him down in the bowels of the Hard Rock Cafe in Myrtle Beach.
Now, what was Phil doing there?
A young Mary Edie, a woman in Myrtle Beach, had invited Phil to come speak to a group there, and he did great.
Mary worked on the campaign as well.
Right. That may have been about the same time. I'm not sure. That wouldn't have been in the mid-'90s, though.
No, it was 86.
Yes,
86.
yes. So 10 years later, he was in Myrtle Beach, right after the Hard Rock Cafe opened, and still spreading his magic around throughout the Palmetto State. And of course, he had helped kick off the Renaissance Weekend.
He did. Right? In fact, when I was working for him, that was one of the things I worked on was Renaissance Weekend, which brings in a phenomenal group of people to sit around for a weekend and discuss what's been bugging you lately.
Yes, I bet you garnered a lot from that, Kathy.
Oh, it was great. It was wonderful.
It must have been exciting. Somerville is where, in relation, for viewers on the Strand and the PD who may not have been to Somerville, is that on the coast exactly?
It is 30 miles north of Charleston, and it is an old historical town where Charlestonians used to come up to summer, so hence the name Somerville. Right. So lots of historical old homes. It's just a beautiful, beautiful locale.
I didn't know that. I always thought for some reason it was right on the coast, but I'm glad you explained that.
No, it's on the Ashley River, but one thing, Somerville has the only 5-star hotel and restaurant that was also voted #1 in Travel and Leisure magazine as the best hotel and restaurant in the whole United States. Is in Somerville, South Carolina.
You were kidding. What is it?
Woodlands.
Woodlands, yes,
Woodlands.
yes.
The Woodlands,
Have you actually ever left your home and gone over there to stay?
I have once. We did it as a lark, and it's a wonderful place.
It's worth the 5-star rating. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It is, and the dining part of it is exquisite. Yeah. So it's very nice. It's very nice.
Exciting. I think I saw in reading a little bit about you, Kathy, that Somerville is tied into a lot of the groups you're involved in. I saw you're president of the Somerville Cotillion. What exactly is that? I've seen that word. Of course, having a 5-year-old daughter, this may be something I need to start thinking about. I'm not sure.
Well, it's very interesting because when I first heard about it, I consider myself a progressive feminist. And I thought, well, now why would I want my daughter to make her debut, at 19 to society? But after I got in and talked to some of the women in it, it's really sort of like a pageant. That what you are doing is you're giving them skills, you're empowering young women to go out and say, I want a leadership role. It has a community service component to it, but these young girls start in the 4th and 5th grade, and they go to cotillion classes and learn manners. They learn about proper ways of introduction, and in the long run, it helps you. I mean, manners always help you. I mean, the lovely thing about Southerners is they are mannerly, I think. Yeah. But it teaches you that, but they also have a community service component during their whole years of being, if they decide to make their debut.
Right.
So Emma Claire definitely needs to be in the cotillion.
4th or 5th grade is when it begins.
They start when it begins, and then they make their debut at 19.
Right after your freshman year, oftentimes, for many of the students at college.
Usually, the year after high school, there's all sorts of courses they can take on resume writing and public speaking.
Is there a national association? Or
no. There is
kind of
individual groups, and it's probably more southern than in other places. Although New York has some cotillions as well, and Chicago.
Exciting. That's interesting. I wonder if a lot of mothers who may not have daughters ever get involved in that, or if it's principally mothers and daughters.
Yes, we have plenty of women whose
Any
sons
dads get involved?
It's a female club, a women's only club.
Wow,
Although there are cotillions and other areas where it's men's only.
Is that right? Yeah,
yes.
men are involved. That's fascinating.
Yes.
I think I also saw you've been active in the Coastal Community Foundation. What
I
exactly
was
is
on
that?
the board for 6 years, and that was one of the most interesting boards I've ever served on. And what it really teaches you is that each of us have a capacity to have your own foundation and to give back to the community. And so we started our family foundation through the Coastal Community Foundation called the Ought to Give Fund. My daughter's name is Audie, and we wanted to teach her that, and you don't have to have a whole lot of money in this.
I was about to say, what kind of money was,
so we built it up over the years. It's $10,000, and you have the capacity to give back a portion of that to your community. But we wanted to teach our daughter to be able to find whether it was one charity or two nonprofits that she felt really strongly about, that she could identify, go work in, and then give money back to them.
How exciting, Kathy.
It is.
You think she's gotten a lot from it?
Oh, goodness, maybe too much. We're like, we got to give more.
She may be thinking about setting up her own, right? Separately.
Yes.
How exciting.
Yes, she's really involved with the SPCA.
Is that right?
Yes, and with breast cancer awareness.
Right,
and she,
right.
her best friend's mother died at 18, or on her best friend's 18th birthday. And so she's been really involved in Relay for Life. And
Right.
so I'm very proud of her.
Yeah, you've got to be. Well, of course, she must be taken after her mother on a lot of this, seeing that you were the past president and the chair of the capital campaign for the YMCA in your area. You've obviously gotten active in a lot of community service.
Well, Somerville is just such an incredible town, but there were some things that were holes that were missing, and I had a chance to be with two great mentors, along with my husband, who also loves Somerville. And
right, sure.
It's amazing if you get a group of people together and decide you're going to make some changes, you can do it. So.
Oh, yeah, very definitely. I got to ask, knowing, and I think I told you earlier on that I would ask this, but with your undergraduate and master's in psychology and counseling, how did you get on the USC Engineering and Computing Advisory Board?
Boy, they really must have been desperate. No, it was interesting. BP is very involved in recruiting female engineers.
Great.
There's a real need for them.
Right.
And I got a phone call one day, and they said, BP has been very generous to us, and we have this board of engineers. We're trying to move the college forward, but we need someone who is looking from the outside, an external view. And so I am their external view right now.
That is fascinating.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Well, good. Speaking of BP, I saw that BP is donating 50 SUVs, a different kind of SUV.
Yeah, they're called bad boy buggies. They're huge utility vehicles.
Solar.
But they're solar powered.
Right.
We developed these, and they're promotional at this point. We hope at one point that they will be out and people can buy them, particularly with gas prices the way they are.
Right.
But they're solar powered. They can run up to 30 miles an hour, and
Wow.
but again, they're utility vehicles.
Right, sure. So particularly good for wildlife or parks. I saw
parks,
some of the places
yes.
y'all are donating those.
We're going to be donating one to Clemson University to their engineering department.
Sure.
We have donated them to the Park Service, to the Eagle Conservancy in New York. So just looking at different places that we see a need.
You know, Kathy, I was fascinated. I saw a full-page ad recently in a newspaper that highlighted this question simply: should America pursue more American oil and gas? Is that something that BP supports?
Definitely. I mean, if gas is, over $4, we possibly could see a $6, gas price. I mean, we've got to do something. We have China online, we have India coming in, and we have to find some sources here. It's here, but I think we as Americans have to decide, do we want to drill off the coast of Myrtle Beach?
Right.
I mean, there is oil and gas there. If not, do we want to come up with some other energy efficient means, some new hybrid cars or something? But yes, I think that is here, but we as a nation have to decide if we're going to go forward with something like that.
That's fascinating. Well, we're going to have to get you up to Myrtle Beach sometime to talk about that. We've only got about 5 minutes, and I've got to ask, since we talked a little bit about it during our time here a couple of weeks ago judging. Am I correct? You're actually working on a book or a couple of books?
Well, working would be the operative word. It would be
Please.
the operative word.
Are you willing to share with viewers a little bit about
Yes,
what's
about
going on?
10 years ago, I started writing the premise of the book, and it was about 3 women who walk every day.
I love it.
And they tell stories, of their days growing up in upper South Carolina, or one growing up in the PD area.
Right.
And as you walk, these stories develop, and then over the years they have family, and so it's sort of a saga of Southern women,
Right.
Golden Girls versus meets maybe not Sex in the City, but they wear high heels sometimes.
I love it.
Not when they're walking.
yeah.
Not when they're walking. But it's a story of friendship, the beauty of long-term friendship with women.
Right,
So,
right.
But after being a judge, I think there is a book in the making right there.
Oh, yeah. You mean of judging? Judging state pageants or
Well, just being with the judges
just
and
being
listening.
with the judges, yes.
And
we have an
hearing
eclectic
comments.
mix of folks. I mentioned that Dr. Adrian Johnson will be with us tomorrow. Last week on Tuesday and Wednesday, Jack Cooper, our head judge, was
yes.
with us on Tuesday. It was fascinating and, of course, was instrumental in helping keep the group together. And real-life judge Allison Renee Lee was with us on Wednesday.
I know.
Like yourself, had been at the McNair Law Firm for a number of years.
Yes, we were. We were there. And, I mean, it is. But I was fascinated by the stories within the judge's room.
Right.
I think you ought to make it a reality TV
Oh yeah,
show.
it could be. You know, we were supposed to talk to our director about
That's
that
right,
since
that's
he
right.
knows a lot about reality.
This is a
TV
reality
shows.
TV
Yeah.
show for sure.
Well, it is. It was fascinating to see the group together and to think about some of the highlights over the course of the week. And there was still so many things going on. At the end of the week, it seemed like it could keep going on. There were so many amazing
Were you
things.
exhausted?
I was exhausted. I was exhausted. I was probably exhausted after the first weekend, let alone the entire 10-day stretch.
But it was worth it. Yeah,
absolutely.
It was great.
You know, and as you think about for you we talked a little bit about some of the differences between the pageantry back in the 70s. Hate to date that, but to the present, and to think about some of the advances, it is the young ladies in the world essentially have really advanced quite a bit.
And you know, the other thing about the pageant I realized while I was there is that there's one winner, but every girl that was there wins. I mean, they are out there, they're walking across the stage. I mean, I just think that every one of them was a winner and will be a winner as they go forward. It is such a confidence builder.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. Speaking about winners, I was trying to think how Kathy Randall, as active with BP America, as a mother, as a wife, as obviously a community servant, how do you have time to actually work on a book or go walking at all? I just can't even fathom it.
Well, a multitasker, I guess. No, I just think that there are certain moments, you have to have privacy moments just for yourself to find out, to continue to grow, you know, and I think that's my, I always say my Valium is reading or writing, and so as long as I can have some time to sit down and just be with myself, I can do it.
Did that start at an early age? Was that something your parents spurned, or a particular teacher? Was there somebody who inspired you to read and write?
I have a journal that I started when I still have it, when I was 7 years old.
Is that right? We want to get our hands on that. Yeah.
It was
from age 7.
I was in love with Eric Mullinax.
Oh, wow.
That's what it says.
I love it. I love it. Are there some things in there? Did you ever think about that? Were there things that you wanted to redact at some point, or if you ever died that you wouldn't want people to see, or were there things you wanted to make sure they saw about you?
Well, it was just for me, but after I've gone back and read it, I've let my daughter read some of them.
Is that right?
And she is
some.
Some, yes, some. And she has laughed so much and said, "You really thought that then?" So it's been a great opportunity for dialogue with her.
Cathartic,
and so she has started keeping her own journals too. So.
That's tremendous, Kathy. I'm sorry we've run out of time.
Oh,
Thanks
gosh,
so much for being with us this morning.
And I'm so glad to see you again.
Yes, after 2 weeks away, we're going to have to find a way to have a reunion.
We will.
Very definitely. Stay tuned to a little more with Kathy Randall coming up next. You know, most folks would be satisfied with a college degree, just simply making it through 4 years of school. What about Kathy Randall? Is that a chance? No, she decides to go on and get a master's in education and counseling. Is she stopping there? she decides to come on back 10, 15 years later and actually take another 3 years of school getting a law degree. Anything else? I know a lot of viewers want to know that. You're going to have to catch her another time. We'll get her up to the beach or up to the PD and get an opportunity to spend some time with Kathy, learn more about BP America and the amazing things they're doing throughout the country to make a difference. Kathy, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.